Your Eminence, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the Norwegian Tai Chi Centre this evening on this very honourable moment for the Centre and of course for me personally. So please allow me now to just share a few words I would like to present our master here this evening. Khenpo is an influential and acknowledged Buddhist master and a Buddhist spiritual leader based on Larungga Five Sciences Buddhist Academy in China. In order to enable people to understand the essence of Dharma, Khenpo has been using modern technologies to transmit his teaching for more than 30 years. Once there was a Nitsen who wrote a question in Khenpo's microblogging. What do we truly need in our lives? Khenpo replied, peace, ease, and freedom of mind. In addition, Khenpo has a high-level rationality in the scientific thinking. He also deeply and extensively comprehends and applies the science of logic and other modern science. Moreover, Khenpo discussed about the science and religious connotations with many scientists to try to understand each other, one another, and make comparison between the wisdom of scientists and the wisdom of the Buddha. Khenpo wrote in his book about Buddhism and science, scientists are in the process of seeking the truth about the earth, and their research has brought them to the point of being able to draw some conclusions based on what they have learned. Buddha Shakyamuni Sutras are similar because they also contain descriptions of the secrets of the universe and of the world that we live in, all of us. We should keep on exploring science as well as the profundities of Buddhism. When we are guided by wisdom, we neither become complacent about the knowledge that we have gained, nor do we hastily challenge an opposing view before fully understanding it. Nowadays, with the rapid development of science and technology, humans' material needs have been met to some extent. In the meantime, pursuit of spirituality has become the central theme of our lives. More and more people begin to look inward so as to achieve inner peace and harmony in modern life. Today, Khenpo will indeed give us a lecture called Science and Spirituality in Modern Day Life that I believe will bring us wonderful inspiration. And then we will offer questions and answers from all the great minds that are here. And I see at least one. One. So go for it, and when that opportunity comes, please make the most of this evening and enjoy. In the very, very last conclusion, I just ask you all to sit quietly at the very conclusion while Rinpoche leaves. So please welcome warmly Rinpoche. Thank you.
首先，说一下，很高兴就今天到这个挪威太极中心，跟大家有一些关于道方面的探讨。
First off, I would like to say that I'm really happy to be here in Norway at this Tai Chi Center to have a dialogue with all of you here.
我是来自藏地，从小都在一个有信仰的这么一个人群当中，受教育成长，一直到今天。
I'm from Tibet. I've been growing up in this region where people have lots of faith, and I've been educated in that region as well.
我对关于道方面和还有 太极方面，也有一些了解。
I do know something about Tao and Tai Chi.
以前我还没有出家的时候呢，当时大概是可能19岁、20岁、21岁左右的时候呢，就是经常练过一些太极，但是这个目的呢不是很纯，就是以后喜欢打架。
Before I was ordained, that was about when I was about 19 to maybe 21 years old. That was 30 years ago. I also practiced Tai Chi for a little bit of time because, well, it was not really for an altruistic purpose, but to be a better martial artist.
我们当时很多人认为太极呢有动作比较近的一种太极，还有一种呢，就像少林寺当中的有一些比较可以就飞啊，或者说是可以做各种各样的一些比较超越人类的一些行为，但我们喜欢的就是很想就是做一些就超越人类的一些行为，所以每天晚上就是到一些就空的教室里面呢，在这些地方就是自己做一些训练。
So there are two types of Tai Chi. One is more of the silence and peaceful type, and the other one's probably more with a tint of supernatural. There's more of a supernatural sense in it. For example, people could fly and do kind of actions that is more supernatural, I guess. So what I did was I went to empty classrooms to practice every night back then.
但后来出家之后呢，也是关于在这方面做了一些研究。其实当时我们所想的比较简单，实际上这里面也有很深的意义，包括白色和红色、阴和阳、白天和晚上、苦和乐、空和光明，当当有很多的这种我们世间万物是一种阴阳组合的道理。
After my ordination, after I became a monk, in fact, I studied more and did more research in it. So it seems that the whole practice is not as simple as I thought it would be, such as the concept of night and morning, the concept of yin and yang, white and red, bliss and emptiness, suffering and happiness. All of these are not as simple as we thought it were.
所以我们可能人们能看到的世间万物的一部分，但是我们看不到的就还有很多阴层的比较神秘的地方。因此通过道或者是通过宗教呢，就能认识我们更加与我们不是整天完全生活在一起，实际上是生活在一起，但是我们并不是非常的清楚的，有一部分呢可能也会得到发现。
There are things that we can perceive in this world, and there are things we can't perceive in this world. So for the things we can't perceive in the world, we usually think that they're hidden and they're quite mysterious. And those are the things through Tao or through any religion we can discover and we can find more truth behind them.
因此我们怎么讲，就是在今天的这个科技非常发达的世界当中，实际上许许多多的人都认为有了科学，那么科学主义的思想就可以能解决人类的一切问题。实际上科学呢确实能解决很多问题，也给我们创造了许许多多的方便，这一点是不可否认的。
So nowadays, people tend to think that science and technology could resolve many issues that we have in our life because of the advancement of technology and science. Of course, I do agree with that. However, I do think that science and technology brought lots of convenience into our life.
但是我们可能只看到，科学给我们带来的一些好处、利益、方便这一部分。我们也许人类很多人就还没有看到科学给我们带来的非常多的一些负面的，或者说是比较灾难性的、危险性的，就这么一层呢，也不断的在呈现。
However, people usually perceive what technology brought to us, all the convenience, all the benefits, but most people don't really see what's hidden behind that layer. Lots of negative aspects of technology are bubbling under the surface. Lots of disasters and danger are bubbling behind that surface.
因此，我们这个时代呢，对将来就也有很大的希望，可以说是人类前所未有的一些希望呢，就是也可以有。还有我们这个时代呢，对未来就非常的担忧，这种恐惧呢，也是人类前所未有的一种恐惧，也有不安全感。
So I think we're standing at this point in history where there are a lot of hope in our life, in our time, that is more than at any points in history. However, we also have the same kind of worry that we never had before. For example, all the danger and all the uncertainties in our lives are unprecedented.
现在很多人认为是有了新的科学的话，以前的所有的这些包括一些宗教啊、传统文化啊，就是这些都是并不是很用的，不是很适用的。因此呢，就是他们就把它抛弃，但是这种思维是非常危险的。
Therefore, people nowadays usually think that the new technologies are here, so we can just use all the new technologies, and all the traditional religion or older traditions, our culture, are no longer in use. Therefore, we can just discard them. However, I think that type of thinking is really dangerous.
比如说一个年轻人，他觉得是自己应该可以创业，没有任何问题。但是真正走人生的这条路的时候呢，他发现就是没有依靠他的父母或者老人的话，也许他走的不一定很远。在这个时候呢，他原来非常歧视的这些父母呢，也要去求助。
For example, if a young entrepreneur nowadays, if this person wants to start his own career, his own business, and he wants to do this all by himself without seeking for advice from any of the previous generations, from the elderly. And in turn, if without any of those advices of experience, that young person may not proceed further and eventually won't be able to proceed further because he couldn't get any help.
科学就像是年轻人，我们的传统古文化呢，就像老年人。
So science is that young person, and our traditional culture is the older and wiser in our society.
为什么这么讲呢？因为现在很多人以科学主义的思想，将我们人类几千年的很多文化，就把它判作一种迷信，或者说是无用的，或者说是陈旧的这种宗教的概念来，就进行打击，就是想把它从他们的领域当中就全部扫光。
Why is that? Because nowadays people think that the religion and older and old tradition are are like superstitions and they're not useful. So they want to really get rid of it. They want to discard all of those.
如果他们不信仰任何的神啊、佛啊，或者说是任何一些神秘的东西都可以，但实际上是并不是，只不过是他们换了一个图像而已。实际上他们现在还是信仰一个新的神。
If they think that they just don't want to be included into any religion, that is completely fine. However, I think they just created another religion for themselves. They belong to a new type of religion.
我们都可能知道，他们信仰的这些神呢，不一定是一样的。但是每一个年轻人呢，他每天都是通过各种的电脑啊或者手机啊，就这里面就是看各种各样的，包括什么动漫啊、动画以及好莱坞的各种各样的比较神秘的，就是这些头像。最后他们每一个人都有自己心里崇拜的，就是像神一样的非常抽象的东西。
In terms of religion, we think of an idol or a god. So although those people don't believe in any god or idols from any religion, let's look at the youngsters now. The young people nowadays, they're so fascinated by cell phone. They're indulged in their computer and animes as well as Hollywood movies. So they're quite fascinated by their own idol that's within this technology realm.
现在这个世界呢，在短短的就几年当中，或者几十年当中，人类的历史有了翻天覆地的变化，人们的价值观也是随着有着非常大的这种改变。
In the past few years, maybe a few decades, people have a completely different view. Because everything changed so fast, the history changed so fast, people's value changed so fast.
我们现在的比较老一辈的这个年代的人和中年人、年轻人的这种世界呢，完全是不同的。
The last generation has a completely different world than the youngsters now.
很多老年人认为是他们以前的这种价值观基本上还一直保存着。
The last generation still maintains the similar value that's passed on from generations.
可是这个世界呢，就是现在年轻人，甚至我们最年轻的少年人所看到的世界。
That's not the same with the people how the new generations perceive.
因此，我们现在的大人跟小人之间就经常有思想上的冲突。
Therefore, the older generation really have a conflict with the newer generation.
很多比较年老的人呢，就是认为是这些人的所作所为就并不是很适合他们的这种生活。
The older generation usually considers how the young generation's lifestyle is not really fitting into this world. It's not appropriate.
这些年轻人呢，也认为是所谓的父母和长辈呢，不理解他们的这种生活。
And the young generation considers that the older generation do not understand them at all, do not understand their lifestyle.
可是这个世界呢，就确实是有时候是依靠这些年轻人的技术和年轻人的这种世界来呈现的。
However, the new world is dependent on the new generation and their technology.
在这个时候呢，我想我们一味的，如果还继续相信科学的话，也许可能我们大多数的人都受到这个科学的一种这个欺骗。
So I think if we only believe in technology and science, I think our new generation, all of us, will be deceived by it.
我并不是不认可科学，科学确实改变了人类，我们也有特别的这种期待。但是我们很多人一味的把它当作神一样来对待的话，现在人就是所谓的科学就已经他们成了心灵的这种上帝。
It's not that I don't believe in science. It's not that I don't recognize science as valid. Science definitely changed our lives. However, I think people nowadays are over-reliant on science. The younger people or the modern people somewhat consider science as a new god.
但实际上科学呢，就是还在探索当中。以前，应该1927年的时候获得这个诺贝尔的应该物理奖吧，就是阿什先生，就是他也说过，说是所谓的科学呢，并不是权威的，也并不是能统治一切的。人们正在探索真理的这样的一个知识呢，就是叫做科学。
However, I think science is still developing. The physics Nobel laureate back in 1927, Arthur, he stated that science is not authoritative. The fact of science is that we're still using such means to search for the truth.
而且，如果用科学来判断我们的世界，或者说是对整个世界能叙述的很圆满的话呢，这是有限的，因为科学只能跟外在的物质就进行探索。我们真正的人类的内心呢，实际上还是有一种到目前为止探索的并没有设计。
The way how science perceives the world is quite limited, because what science does is it does research and investigation into our materialistic world, but it does very little investigation into our inner world, our mind.
但我们每一个人生活过得快乐、痛苦的话呢，对自己的内心有非常大的关系。
But our happiness or unhappiness is very closely related to our mind.
我们如果内心就是没有很好的认知或者觉悟的话呢，也许住在像皇宫一样的这种这个像天堂一样的皇宫一样的这样的这种环境当中，但也许不一定过得很快乐。
However, it is our mind that makes us happy or not so happy. If we don't recognize our mind, if we don't have realization of our mind, then even if you live in this celestial palace, you probably won't have a happy life.
不过听说你们挪威呢，就今年应该是全世界最快乐的人，但是我呢，因为刚刚来的也看不出来，就挪威人更快乐，就或者我好像也许可能我是一个刚来的人吧，就是不知道有没有痛苦，你们自己知道。
Norway ranked #1 on the gross national happiness chart globally. Maybe it's because I just arrived here. I can't really see if the Norwegians are happy or not. Maybe you can tell me.
我刚来了以后，听到这里面的物价特别贵，所以我很害怕。
When I just arrived, I heard that you have the highest pricings in Europe, and I got a little afraid.
我去过好几个国家，我就每一次去一个国家的时候呢，比如说我前一段时间去美国的时候呢，我就买一个笔记本，买一个袜子，我就用美元跟人民币对比，就是对比的时候呢，到了美国也觉得特别贵，后来到了挪威的时候就特别紧张，不敢买任何。刚才买几支笔，就是然后用人民币来运算的时候呢，有点不开心。
I went to many places. I went to many countries around the world. When I went to the United States, I bought a pair of socks and one notebook. So when I bought that, I tried to calculate how much it is in the Chinese currency, RMB. And when I got to know the price of it, I wasn't too happy. I just purchased some pens in Norway, and when I did that calculation, I was really not happy.
不过我知道，所谓的幸福指数呢，并不是有几张这种钱来衡量的，应该是整个 这个什么全民的所有的这个社会的待遇啊、环境啊各方面的，就是这样的话呢，整个北欧的这种国家的确实很多这个社会福利啊，就是这些都完全不同的，这一点我还是非常的学习。
I know that money can't buy happiness, and your happiness is not completely dependent on the pricing. I know it is also dependent on the environment, on your social protection, and everything. So, out of all the countries in the world, the Nordic countries are doing really well. Therefore, I really rejoice.
所以我也在向很多的利友来证明，就是自己待在这里应该是最快乐的。但是待的时间越长的话呢，不知道我会不会快乐。
So I'm trying to use that to prove that I can be happy here. I can be the most happy in this country of happiness. Because I'm going to stay a long time here. I'm not sure if I'll still be that happy at the end of my stay.
我希望我还是离开的时候也依依不舍。
I hope that when I do have to depart from this country, I'll feel a sense of that I don't want to leave.
因为我们的人性，最关键是我们的人性。如果人性快乐，确实是非常重要的。但人性要获得快乐的话呢，也许可能我们自己有一种修行啊，自己有一种信仰啊，甚至呢，就是自己学会自己的内心的调整，就是这一点，也许获得幸福上面是最有意义的，因为幸福、快乐都是安立在自己的心上面。
So I think happiness is really important. If people could practice and if people have faith, I think that would bring a lot of benefits to happiness. If we can adjust our mind, if we can control our mind, then it is quite meaningful. It's quite a meaningful method to bring happiness.
这种方法呢，我的觉得应该譬如说我在的地方呢，很多人虽然经济条件不是很好的，但内心当中他有一种自在，有一种力量，这种力量是什么呢？实际上是我们超越我们平时的生活以外的，有一种方法，就这种方法呢，对每个人来讲非常非常有用的。
From where I live, people are not that rich. However, people have this natural sense of freedom and strength. Where does that strength come from? The strength comes from a method that could transcend ordinary life.
我今天呢也是简单的就讲一下，就是大家对这个禅修，因为其实科技与我们现在的这个心理要相结合的话呢，一定要用一种这种禅修的工具，我觉得很好，因为心灵跟我们的世界要结合起来的话呢，先我们的心静下来，才有这个办法，就是能对接。
So today I'm going to give some simple words, simple instructions, which is on meditation. I think meditation is a tool that could connect our mind to science, because how we can connect our mind to the world is how we can connect it or be in peace with it is that when our mind is at peace, then we can connect to the world in such a way.
我们在生活当中也好，在整个宇宙万物间呢，有很多的这种力量啊，包括什么吸引力啊、动力啊，还有这个电磁的这种力啊，就非常多的力量。但在这些力量当中呢，生命的力量是最强大的。
In our life, in this universe, there are a lot of power. For example, gravity and electromagnet, all all of those powers, but those are external. What is most powerful is the power of our mind.
生命的力量要掌握的话呢，可能依靠一些科技啊，依靠一些学术的研究，不一定掌握得非常的完美。所以刚开始有一些知识的了解、专业的了解之后呢，然后认识我们自己的心，用心来灌自己的心。
It is the power of mind and life that is the strongest. So the power of life, you cannot understand it or gain it just from scholastic studies. However, you have to practice. First of all, you need to have some knowledge about it, and then you need to practice. The way to practice it is to use your mind to observe your mind.
其实以前呢，大家都觉得是，我们的这个生活呢，就是都依靠一些科技发达来解决，就非常容易。但到今天的时候呢，包括高科技的很多企业家啊，就像 Google 啊、微软啊、Twitter 啊，包括像我前一段时间去这个芝加哥的公牛队。然后他们也在这个禅修，所以，现在包括苹果公司啊，就他们最高层的这些企业，甚至个人，他们的话，通过完全是依靠科学的话呢，他找不到心里的宁静，因此他们通过禅修，通过信仰来认识自己。
People relied on technology before, but that didn't really resolve all the problems. So nowadays, elite companies such as Google, Microsoft, Twitter, even Chicago Bulls, the basketball team in the United States that I visited earlier, last month, as well as Apple, all of these elite corporations, they started to search for alternative ways to resolve problems, and that is to search for a peaceful mind. So people have to practice meditation and use meditation as a tool to get more insights.
为什么世界上是这么多的非常非常有钱的、有地位的这些成功的企业家，学禅修呢？平时他们都没有时间，但是他们太累了，就是所以累的时候就没办法，只有修禅修。
Why do so many rich people and people with high status practice meditation, you may ask? I think it's because they're too tired. Because they're too tired, they have to practice meditation.
如果是光是依靠一些物质啊、金钱来获得真正的快乐的话，他们绝对不会修的。
If they can gain happiness through materialistic means and wealth, I don't think they need to practice meditation.
因为他们拥有的财富和拥有的地位和拥有的金钱呢，应该是相当多的。
Because the wealth, the money, and status that they have is plenty.
所以我刚才说，有些年轻人呢，他做着做着，最后他自己实在是成功，就创业不成功的时候呢。他还回来就是要这个父母就借钱，或者说是求他父母要给一点儿。
Going back to the metaphor that I talked earlier, if the young person who wanted to have a successful career failed because simply rely on himself couldn't really lead to success, he would probably go back to his parents, his older relatives, ask for borrowing money or support so that he could proceed on his career.
在你们的，我觉得是在欧洲这边的话呢，从外在的，包括房屋的一些建筑的风格啊、文物啊，这些保留的很好的，但内心的一些传统思想不知道留了多少。
Staying in Europe, I noticed that all the architectural designs and all the houses over here, all the historical housings are quite well preserved. However, I'm not sure how much of that ancient wisdom is still preserved in your minds.
其实关求内心的宁静的这种方法呢，我们每一个宗教和每一个地方的人类呢，几千年一直是有的，只不过科学一发展的时候呢，好多都就已经就抹杀了。
In fact, the method of trying to maintain a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, has thousands of years of tradition. But when science really developed, this tradition has been discarded.
像很多现在就年轻人也好，各个企业在修禅修的时候，这种禅修的内容呢，比如说我们在佛教当中呢，是2000多年以来一直是非常寻常的事情。
For example, young people nowadays and people who work in these large corporations, they would practice meditation as something new. But this tradition has been going on in Buddhism for 2,500 years.
你们知道南传佛教的话呢，就是基本上在寺院里面禅修，还有在山上也有很多禅修的。
Such as in Theravada tradition, people would practice meditation in monasteries as well as in caves.
基本上是终身一生都是在禅修中。
They practice meditation for their whole life.
像我们藏传佛教也是有，比如说3年3个月啊，或者说终身闭关啊，或者说是每年的是闭关100天、7天等等，也是就1000多年以来一直有这个传统。就不修行的人，大家觉得很奇怪。
In Tibetan Buddhism's tradition, we have the tradition of meditation retreat for 3 years and 3 months. Even some of the practitioners would practice for their whole lifetime, dedicate their whole life into such practice. There are people who dedicate 7 days up to 100 days per year to practice meditation in retreat. This tradition has been going on for about 1,000 years. So this is really not a new invention.
同样的，这个3大传承的汉传佛教当中，也是这个禅宗思想，就是一直到今天，就是一直没有间断。
And in the Han Chinese tradition, the Chan tradition also continued all the way till today.
因此，我不是在这里说大话，就是对宗教或者说是对佛教而言的话呢，就受禅修是非常熟悉的一件事情。
Therefore, I'm simply telling the truth. Everything, the meditation that we practice nowadays is, in fact, very familiar.
而且禅修可以分比较初级的，就是让我们这个身心全部都比较放松下来，就戒压，就是所有的这些，就各种乱七八糟的事都不会就跑在心里面的，就是这样的一种就比较刚开始初级的简单的。
And there are the basic level of meditation where where you try to relieve pressure from your mind.
然后再上一层的时候呢，就是将自己的负面的情绪，比如说嗔恨啊、嫉妒啊、过于的欲望啊，就是这些的，用自己的心来观察它，慢慢就是消失，就是让自己处于一种正念当中。
And the higher level of the upgrade from that would be trying to eliminate negative emotions. For example, anger, jealousy, and desire. That's when we look at those negative emotions. When we look at them, they would naturally dissipate. So we would look at them with right mindfulness.
你再如果提升一层的话呢，就我们用心观自己的心的时候呢，心的本来面目就是到底是什么样，自己通过一种寂静的这种观察方式来，就是认识它，就是这叫做是所谓的觉悟开悟。
To level up even more, that's when we watch our mind with our mind. That's when we can recognize the nature of our mind, and we can call that a realization.
这种人呢，可能不被任何的这种烦恼痛苦所转，就是过得非常非常的这种开心， 即使幸福指数不是特别高的国家里面的话呢，他还是会过着非常快乐的生活。
So a realized person won't be trapped by negative emotions. And a realized person will be really happy. It doesn't matter if he lives in a really happy country or not so happy country.
那么最高的这种参修的境界呢，实际上是他不管是行住坐卧，就任何一个行为当中，他不离开他的观察自己觉知的这种行为，同时呢，他依靠这种自己的最高的思想境界，让无有任何私心的就帮助许许多多的生命，就是他没有任何私心的，他也不离开自己的觉悟，但同时他能做非常伟大的事情。
And the highest level of that meditation would be the person is never apart from his awareness. Doesn't matter if that person's walking, sitting, lying down, or simply abiding. That awareness is always with that realized person. So within that state, that person is able to help limitless people, limitless sentient beings.
不管是哪种层次呢，我也希望呢，既然我们今天继续在这里的话，大家应该要日常生活当中就要学这种禅修。
Doesn't matter what level you are. So since we're all sitting here, so today let's talk about the practice that we can adapt to our daily life.
禅修的刚开始可能要修的比较激进的环境当中，如果在自己的家里啊、住的地方啊，就是这些，就如果一家人是修禅修的话呢，那么就可以坐在凳子上，或者说是就像我们现在这样的，就这么大盘腿，就是这样做，然后让做多长时间，就是通过根据自己的情况来可以禅修。
For many of you, for beginners, you could choose a rather quiet place to practice meditation. For example, if you have a quiet home, or if your whole family practices meditation, then all of you could sit together. Maybe you can sit cross-legged like some of you do right now, or you can sit on the chair like some of you are right now.
如果条件具足的话，那就是比如说10个人、几个人，就是一起可以在10分钟、20分钟。像我们藏传佛教当中，就是修8个小时，就是也有这样的，就是能修多少，你们大家一起商量，就是上午一座，下午一座，可以这样修。
The sitting time would be however you'd like to choose, whatever is suitable for you. Or if you have a good circumstance, or if you want to practice more, you can practice with a group of people, 10 to 20 people. You can practice for up to half an hour if you like. You can practice in the morning for one session and in the evening for another session.
如果不能大家集中的话，那就是自己。如果一家人有共同的心愿的话呢，一家人可以修，就一起就修5分钟，修10分钟都可以。
If you don't really have 10 to 20 people to sit together, then you can sit with your family if they are willing to. You can sit together for 5 to 10 minutes.
如果一家人当中其他人没有这方面的信仰的话呢，那要求他我要修半个小时的禅修，最好不要打扰我。如果打扰我的话呢，我修完了以后跟你吵架。
If your family members don't practice meditation, then you could simply acknowledge to them that I am going to sit for half an hour, so please don't disturb me. Otherwise, I will be angry. I will be angry at you after my meditation session.
因为禅修的时候最好不要跟别人就吵架或者说什么。
Because during your meditation, it's probably the best not to argue with others.
真的禅修就是对自己的情绪还是有很好的这种 疏调的这种帮助。我们身体的经常需要洗澡啊、洗脸啊，每天都需要大卫生的。其实如果内心我们没有这样的高境界的话呢，到一定的时候自己的情绪很难控制。
So it's really important to practice meditation because it really helps with your emotions, your afflictions. Just like how we bathe and clean our body every day to keep it clean, we have to practice meditation to keep our mind clean as well.
这种修行，这种训练，这是并不是修一次两次就可以，应该有长期的这方面的习惯。如果这样的话，逐渐刚开始我们的心就是非常不跳弱，然后慢慢就是可以获得开朗，获得自在。到一定的时候呢，就自己在生活当中发生的任何事情，你又可以勇敢的去面对，而且对你来讲是非常的轻松。
This kind of practice is really important, but you can't really adapt it for once or twice only. It won't really function in your life in such a short period of time. However, you should keep that habit. You should build a long-term habit for meditation because at the beginning, our mind won't be quite obedient. You have to take time to tame your mind. Therefore, after practicing a little while, you will be able to feel more free and have more strength. Whatever happens in your life, whatever obstacles arise in your life, you will still be able to face them with a calm mind.
我个人而言呢，就是实际上看到很多什么有钱的就有非常高的地位的这些人啊，他好像内心当中确实也并没有特别大的羡慕的心，但我还是很怎么说啊，就是很羡慕，就是有一定的这种证悟境界的人，因为他们都不管在哪里，在任何时候都是非常会快乐的，并且呢，他们的所作所为都是可以让这个帮助这个世界，利益这个世界。
I meet all kinds of people with high status and with lots of wealth, but honestly, I don't feel envy for them. But I envy those people who have realization of their own mind, because those realized people, they're very happy. On top of that, they have the capacity to help the world.
的确，我们很多人特别有必要，就观察自己的心，慢慢的调节自己的心。在这个时候呢，依靠各种因缘呢，就是最后，你也会知道，这个世界不管是变化什么样的，但知道是自己内心是什么样。如果你内心真正认识自己的时候呢，那这个世界都是属于你的。
I think it's crucial for people to see how their mind works, to be able to adjust their mind, because and due to this type of practice, it will create a condition for you to understand, to face this world. Doesn't matter how this world would change in the future, but because you understand your mind, you'll be able to face this world however it changes with lots of strength and happiness.
发自内心特别希望我们很多人就是通过自己的方式来经常观察，比如说我们的快乐的心到底是什么样，痛苦的心是到底是什么样，让我每天追逐世间的各种各样的这个心态到底是什么样，就以各种方式来经常关照自己的心的时候呢，别人不一定能发现，但你自己呢也会到一定的时候就是原来就是这样的，所以你自己完全明白自己的心到底是什么样。
Honestly, this is the advice from my heart. I think all of you should adapt any kinds of method that's suitable to you to watch your mind, to look at the mind that is happy, to look at the mind that is unhappy, to look at the mind that is pursuing worldly goals. Maybe other people won't notice what you're doing when you watch your mind, but you will know. And eventually one day you'll see the nature of your mind.
但在这个时候呢，你根本不会消极的，不会懒惰的，你对家人呢就是会越来越好，你对这个世界呢就是越来越负责任，你对社会呢就是越来越有这种 爱他的，就是这样的一种责任感。就这一点呢，我们可能看到世界上是有很多伟大的这种觉悟者，一旦他们真正是觉悟了人生的时候呢，那不可能就是自己住在一个封闭的地方自己享乐，不会这样的。他不是享乐主义，他一定会是将自己的真正的爱和智慧呢，就传递给你有缘的这些生命。
So a person who is realized will definitely not be negative or lazy. The person who's realized will take up more responsibilities and extend more care to his or her own family, to this whole world, to this society, and extend all the love that he or she has. And the person who is like that, who is realized, won't lock him or herself up in a little house and doesn't communicate to the rest of the world, but he would really extend himself to the rest of the world, extend his love to anyone in this world.
时间关系就讲到这里。
Due to the time limit, we have to stop here.
谢谢。